Hello my little Lunas, you can call me Lovegood and I hope you enjoyed this video. Here are just a few things before we get started. Today I'm presenting you with the second half of chapter 11 by KittyKqt on AO3, titled Fell Asleep with a Vision by Spirit of the Beehive. Thank you for tuning in to listen to me, but that's enough of my rambles and jambles and let's get right into the fic. This is the summary. Sports Festival. Orisad sighed, standing up as well to try and shake the water off. "You're back," he said, looking at the light switch as well. Izuku flicked it once, sitting cross-legged mid-air. "You did that on purpose, didn't you?" President Mike asked, setting the cup up bright. Izuku flicked the lights, getting a groan in response. "It's been a while, Midoriya," Eraserhead said, dumping out the little bit of water that had pooled in his seat. Izuku flicked the light 3 times. They couldn't use his name. Midoriya Izuku was dead. Eraserhead sighed, sitting back into his seat, groaning. "It's your name, kid." Izuku flashed it again repeatedly. "Would you prefer us call you Ghost?" President Mike asked, a slight smile on his face as he sat back down as well. Izuku flicked the light once and his smile dropped. "But you have a name." "So do they, but they had hero names as well. It was like that. A different alter than who you usually were, but he couldn't say that, so instead he did nothing." "Where have you been?" Eraserhead asked, and Izuku just stared. How the hell did they expect him to answer such vague questions? He went to activate his mom's quirk, but it didn't come. Right. He floated over to the table instead, pushing just enough energy into his fingers to knock the glass cup onto President Mike's lap, making him jump. "That's not an answer," Eraserhead lamented, and Izuku rolled his eyes. He looked down at the soundboard in front of him, groaning as he pressed a button. A loud scattering of applause filled the room as he laughed, pressing another one. Eraserhead quickly unplugged the soundboard, cutting off the sound of kittens with a groan. "Kid, please," he said with a frown. President Mike went to say something when a timer nearby dinged. Izuku watched as President Mike flicked it off, sighing. "Time for the finals. Wanna stick around?" Izuku floated over to the lights, flicking them. "Don't touch anything," Eraserhead said, as Izuku watched people prepare down below. He rolled his eyes, running a hand through his hair. "And no helping them," he added. Izuku sighed, shaking his head as the first people walked on. He scratched at his neck as he watched each person fight in turn, hurting each other all for a show. They weren't training, they were just showing off, when there were people actually fighting for a chance to save people. He couldn't do much more than be a nuisance in this form, but it still pissed him off. Though he couldn't help but cheer when Kachan won all of his fights, even beating out Todoroki, who didn't use his fire, which was a pure waste that would end up with civilians getting killed in the future. President Mike announced the end of the sports festival before clicking a button on his microphone, turning to Eraserhead. "Still here, Ghost?" He corrected himself, and Nezu flicked the light. "You didn't assist any of them, right?" Izuku flicked the light again, and President Mike smiled. "Did you save me?" Eraserhead asked softly, quieting the already mostly silent room. "At the OSJ and the hospital." Izuku hesitated. He hadn't saved Eraserhead, he had just gotten him dragged down and gotten more injured. It was all he could to give him some energy. Izuku flicked the light. "Thank you," Eraserhead said gently. Izuku flicked the lights again as President Mike nodded his thanks. "And I'm sorry. I couldn't save you that night. I was slow, distracted." President Mike rubbed his shoulders as he shook his head. "I'm glad you're still here, in this world," Izuku hummed, before flicking the light switch, nodding. "So thank you, and I'm sorry," he said again, his voice hoarse. He rolled his shoulders back and cleared his throat quickly. "Nezu would like to speak with you." He turned back to look out the big window, as if Izuku could see his eyes. Izuku flicked the light. President Mike raised a hand in goodbye. Izuku floated out, down the halls, and to the principal's office. He needed to end this now. He floated through the door. Nezu looked up at nothing. His whiskers twitched as he drank from his tea, looking at papers. Izuku flicked the light, And the rat smiled at him. If it isn't my favourite student, Midoriya Izuku. Izuku winced, flicking the light quickly. My apologies. Ghost, was it? Izuku signalled in agreement. Stupid rat, watching people on the cameras. Should we pick up where we left off? He set his cup aside, crossing his paws. Your quirk. He slid a pencil and paper across the table, gesturing for Izuku to pick it up. He had more energy than last time, picking it up easily, concentrating on writing a single sentence. He didn't have hours like he did with his journal. He wasn't going to be weak anymore. Eraserhead Attic, he wrote out slowly, sticking his tongue out to help him focus. He slid the paper back, Nezu scanning it slowly. So you've been hiding in my student's house? He asked, and Izuku rolled his eyes, flicking the switch. Very well. He clapped his paws together, jumping down from his seat. Let us go. Eraserhead sighed, rubbing his eyes. Recovery Girl had taken the bandages off not too long ago, healing him the rest of the way. The cup of coffee sitting beside him was almost out. You've seriously been messing with us for all this time? Izuku shrugged, ignoring the question as he slowly flipped through the journal. He finally found his page, grinning at his name on his hero's journal. On his hero journal. He slid it forward, backing up. He hadn't used as much energy as he had in the past, but it was enough to leave him off balance. They could take it from here. Interesting, Nezu said, scanning the paper. This is beautifully crafted information. He looked up at the light switch Izuku had been camping by, grinning. You did this all yourself? Izuku flicked the light, shaking his hands out. Nezu looked back at the paper, trailing his fingers along the words. So you can use our quirks? Midnight asked, humming slightly. Izuku sighed, not responding. All the information he knew was in the book. He couldn't just use everyone's quirks. There were limitations and issues with each, as he had said in the book. The days of crafting it went to waste if they didn't look. Almost all the information was in there. He pushed the cup of coffee slightly, everyone pausing, sliding the journal back to him. He picked up the pencil, scribbling at the bottom. The clock ticked away as everyone waited for him, dropping the pencil multiple times. Without his mum's quirk, it was hard to keep it steady or bring the pencil back quickly. Bond with Shigaraki. He finally managed to finish writing, sighing as he dropped the pencil. Nezu was the first to read it, his whiskers twitching slightly as he sat in silence. Eraserhead sighed, rocking back on his heels, walking away. Present Mike finally spoke, filling the silence. So you know where he is? He asked, and Izuku flicked the light twice. So you're not sure? Midnight tapped the book, referencing the part about bonds. You can teleport to him, but once he's there, he doesn't know exactly where he is. She clarified, and Present Mike nodded. I don't suppose we can fix a tracker to you. He didn't hit the light switch as she sighed, shaking her head. Things can never be that easy, can they? No, Nezu laughed, clapping his hands together. We'll be having Ghost join our friends at the League of Villains. Izuku furrowed his brow in confusion, flicking the light switch quickly. Calm down. You're going to give me a migraine. Izuku stopped flicking the switch, sticking his tongue out at Eraserhead. What the fuck do you mean? He asked, turning to Nezu. There was fire in his eyes that matched Nezu's confusion, anger at the rat as well. Nezu simply laughed, tipping his tea back before setting it down again. Having an inside informant into this villain group would be extremely helpful. And since our friend here, he gestured to the light switch, making Izuku roll his eyes, cannot get injured, he is our best bet. After all, there must be a ringleader here. Izuku paused, hesitating. There was that doctor person that helped Shigaraki, and the Nomus in the test tubes. Shigaraki wasn't smart enough to do any of that. At least from what Izuku had seen. We're not sending a kid into a villain's hideout, Eraserhead said, shaking his head. Izuku rolled his eyes, shaking his head. Nezu had a point. He couldn't get hurt like other people could. He was already dead. What was the worst he could do? What was the worst they could do? I believe that is up to him to decide. Nezu sat back in his chair, watching the light switch. He had floated over to sit on the arm of the couch a while ago during their conversation about him. Would it harm anyone for him to spy on the League, or would it benefit people? That's a no, Nezu. Midnight stood up, shaking her head. We're not sending a child into a villain's lair. Izuku hurried to the light switch, flicking it off and on. For fuck's sake. Eraserhead groaned, shaking his head. Nezu grinned, tapping his paws together. Guess that's a yes, my dear students. He got up from his seat, walking around the table. Now, should we go over your task? Okay, that is the end of this chapter. The church bells are still going, by the way. There's a really long author's note. Okay, okay, so I'm gonna skip it because it is quite long, but if you want to see it, then you can go to the fic. Again, this is chapter 11. Yes, this is chapter 11. I love this chapter. We get, I love how brief the sports festival is because, again, a lot of them are drawn out a lot of times, and it's like, why? I guess it definitely makes sense for it to be really short in this fic, though, because, it's normally focused on Izuku, and Izuku's not in the sports festival, you know? I wonder how far Shinso got. I guess we'll never know. Okay, alrighty, my little Lunas, that's a wrap of this one. So, my little Lunas, this is a little reminder that you might have something you need to do or check. I hope you will have a fantastic time wherever and whenever you may be, day, night, dust, or low tide, high tide, whatever it is for you. You can call me Lovegood, and that was Chapter 11, Fell Asleep with a Vision by Spirit of the Beehive by KittyKqt on AO3. Bye, little. Izuku, stop ficking. Why are there church bells going off? Shush.